Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Goes Back to College, week number 4. In this video, if you haven't joined me before, this is kind of the way that I do structure it. I'm going to be going and talking about one under-the-radar draft prospect. This prospect is going to be in the 2024 class. He's kind of an under-the-radar quarterback that's been very successful throughout his college career. Then we're going to go over to my notable games of the week. Some weeks I do like one specific game of the week, but this week there is a lot of good games out there, so I wanted to highlight a few of them. And then we'll go over to my favorite prop of the week. You can find this prop on PrizePicks. You can probably get it on ParlayPlay and a couple other sites as well. So definitely be sure to look out for that as you are betting. But with that being said, also make sure that you are subscribed to the Sports Affiliation YouTube channel. Make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel as well over at Coach Craig Sports for all your DFS needs. But without further ado, we'll get into it and talk about that under the radar prospect for week number 4. So we have quarterback Dillon Gabriel of Oklahoma, former Central Florida quarterback. He did transfer over prior to last season. He is a redshirt senior, a former 3-star recruit out of the state of Hawaii. He is 5'11", 204 pounds, so kind of a little bit on the smaller side. That's one of the concerns with him, plus the injury history that he's kind of had in the past. Projected to run in the 4.7s in terms of speed for a 40-yard dash, so not anybody that's going to run away from defenders, but still mobile enough to make things happen when he needs to. So far in 2023, 82.5% completion percentage, 905 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, 10 carries on the ground for 35 yards and an additional touchdown. Keep in mind in college, sacks do count as negative rushing yards as well. So like I said, he has a little bit of that mobility. He has a really strong arm especially for a left-handed quarterback too. So that's really been the thing that stood out to me, even dating back to his time at Central Florida. So since this is the 5th season that Dillon Gabriel has been a starting quarterback, all the stats would not fit on my little slide. I like to cover Sports Reference, and I'm going to show you kind of what he's done throughout his career. As a freshman, started 13 games, completed 59% of his passes for 3,653 passing yards and 29 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Really great stats for a freshman quarterback, where he did run for an initial 78 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Like I said before, sacks do count as negative rushing yards in college football. Then in 2020, he played 10 games. He completed about 60% of his passes, 3,570 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, which was really great stats, especially for a sophomore as well. And then did chip in a little bit on the ground for 169 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And then to the last year at Central Florida, as a junior, played 3 games, completed 68.6% of his passes, 814 passing yards, 9 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Ultimately did end up getting hurt that year and then decided ultimately to transfer to Oklahoma. He had 125 rushing yards in 2001 as well in that third and final season at Central Florida. And then his first year at Oklahoma, he played 12 games, had a completion percentage of 62.7%, 3,168 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So continued the pretty good production over to Oklahoma. And then he also did chip in for 315 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So pretty interesting career for Dillon Gabriel, a guy that's been productive for 3 seasons at this point in time. Looks like he's going to have another productive season this year, even though he is fighting off a pretty good true freshman in Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma as well. So definitely do like him. Probably a guy that ultimately ends up being a day 3 kind of project quarterback at the NFL level. Still only 22 years old, even though he's been in college for a little while. He has that really strong left-handed arm, has some mobility. I think he's going to be an interesting fit for some NFL teams. If not the NFL, he could be a very interesting fit, at the XFL or USFL level if they stay separate or if they combine. That's kind of big news in recent days, or even perhaps in the CFL. There's lots of opportunities for quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks who have had good success throughout their college careers. And then with that being said, we'll get over to kind of my games of the week at this point in time. So these are the games that I call my notable games for week number 4. We got Florida State. They are number 4 in the country, playing at Clemson. It's going to be a tough game going to Clemson. Anyways, Clemson has that good defense. Clemson's offense hasn't really put it all together last season this year. Kind of a big major point for them pretty much since Trevor Lawrence has left. Florida State is 2-point road favorites. I would take Florida State to win this game. They probably even cover that 2 points, but if you want to bet the money line, probably not too much difference there, just depending on which book you're using. Then we have number 19, Colorado, Coach Prime heading over to Oregon. enemy territory. Number 10, Oregon. Oregon's 21-point favorites in this game. I would pick Colorado to cover the points in this game. So I think both these teams are very talented. Oregon still probably comes out on top, but I think Colorado fights this one tooth and nail pretty tough and covers the points even without Travis Hunter this week, who, obviously got hurt versus Colorado State last week. Then we have UCLA going to number 11, Utah. The Utah is 6-point favorites, number 22, UCLA. This should be a pretty good, interesting game, a hard-fought game. Probably a pretty close game, too, I would have to imagine. So I think UCLA has the potential to cover. Dante Moore's played really well at quarterback, especially for a true freshman for them. And then on the opposite side, Utah is always gritty, and they always seem to come ahead, even having a tough defense, good run game. And then we get over to number 15, Ole Miss, going to number 13, Alabama. Alabama's 6.5-point favorites at this point in time. This should probably be another pretty close game. Ole Miss is playing really well as of late. Jackson Dart at quarterback. I almost mentioned him as my prospect to know at this point in time because he's had a nice bounce back season. Lane Kiffin, former offensive coordinator for Alabama. There's a little bit of a grudge there between him and Nick Saban at times. And then Alabama's trying to bounce back from a loss against Texas. This is going to be a tough game. Should be a pretty close one as well. This is not one that I would recommend betting on. And then we have number 14, Oregon State, led by Dennis Martinez and DJU, former Clemson quarterback, going to Washington State. Number 21, Washington State, led by Cam Ward and company. Personally, I think Washington State is able to hold tight and come off with the win in this one. They played pretty tough, especially against some better teams this year. And then we get over to number 6, Ohio State. They are 3-point favorites at Notre Dame, who is number 9 in the country. If I had to pick at this point in time, I think I'm picking Notre Dame to win at home, even though sometimes Notre Dame falters in some of these big game spots. But there is a lot of interesting games this week. That's kind of my thoughts in general. If you're interested in more in-depth thoughts, always feel free to reach out down in the comments if you have any thoughts of your own. If you want to know a little bit more on a specific game, be more than happy to help you there as well. Or reach out on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. Love to talk any type of football anytime. But with that being said, we're going to get off of the game of the week at this point in time. We'll get moved over to my favorite prop of the week. So like I said last week, Jawar Jordan hit the over with 113 rushing yards. He cleared it by about 70 for what we actually needed. So that moves our season-to-date record to 2-2. Like I said, we got the hook in week 1. We got unfortunate in week 2, but bounced back with 2 really strong weeks. The prop of this week, Braylon Allen, running back for Wisconsin, 79.5 rushing yards. We're taking the over on that. He hit the over in 10 of his 12 games in 2022. He hit the over in 2 of his 3 games so far this season. The only game he didn't was that Washington State game, which really didn't turn out too well for Wisconsin overall. He faces Purdue defense in week number 4. Purdue is allowing about 133 rushing yards per game so far this season. They allowed 271 rushing yards versus Syracuse last week and like 160 yards rushing to the quarterback for Syracuse. Braylon Allen is essentially built like Derrick Henry. He is kind of unfair at the college level, so they're going to have a tough time bringing him down. If you know anything about Braylon Allen, he is kind of the king of 100-yard rushing games. This line, I liked it before when it was at 84.5. Now it's at 79.5 on PrizePicks. Maybe you can find a better line somewhere else, take advantage of it, but definitely like it no matter what kind of at this point in time. As long as, it's 86.5 or under, that is kind of the breaking point, but I really do like it. And when we go back to last season, Purdue almost 160 yards rushing allowed per game in 2022 at 159.6 rushing yards allowed. So that's kind of where I'm at for prop of the week, games of the week, and my underrated player. Definitely interested in hear what your guys' thoughts are for week number 4 of college football. Like I said, try to make this video pretty quick and concise. Try not to talk too much, but definitely interested in college football for week number 4. Hopefully you guys have a pretty profitable week. You can enjoy it, whether your favorite team's playing, your favorite player, anything else like that. If you're just like me and you just enjoy watching some football, watching some prospects, that's kind of the big thing for me personally, but definitely looking forward to week number 4 and further as well, especially as we get into, kind of conference play at this point in time. And then last but not least, make sure that you are subscribed to the Sports Affiliation YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button. You have that notification bell turned on so you never miss any of the shows during the week. Even the betting show on Sunday morning with Iggy and SoCal over there. Great group of guys here. And then tell your friends about all the content that's going on here as well. And then lastly, just make sure to check out my YouTube channel as well, Coach Craig Sports. Like I said, anything you need DFS-wise, MLB, NBA, NFL, CFL, USFL, XFL, anything pretty much DFS-wise, I'll have you covered over there as well. But with that being said, definitely appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. I know the rest of the crew at the Sports Affiliation does as well.